I have two passions. So one is technology. I was like you. I got into technology when I was 15 years old. I worked for the company, the sister store that bought the original computers from Steve Jobs at Wozniak.
Okay, yeah.
And I've been in it ever since. But I also have, for whatever reason, an obsession with communication.
Mm-hmm.
How do we present information in a way that changes people's behavior? And logically, I thought, well, this is going to be great because there are very few people that are both technology people and experts in communication.
And I would agree entirely with you.
I found it incredibly difficult to succeed in an area without,
Yeah. But your thinking is entirely on target. Let me give you real examples. One of the things that I have seen everywhere I have been a CIO, all of those organizations, the technology gang, the IT professionals, right, at any level, but speaking kind of collectively. So I'm not singling out any particular individuals, but collectively, every one of those organizations, the technology team of professionals was weak at communication. And I argue it's because the way that technology professionals who end up choosing to work in corporations or entities, organizational entities, are trained both formally and informally in technology-based curricula, discipline, structure, not communication. For example, most of the folks that worked for me, I don't care where they were in their careers, never took any marketing courses, never took communication courses. You see what I'm, so formally, they never had that training. Now, there are a few people who are naturally very effective people in communicating. So I'm not saying that you won't find a few, but they're few and far between. So what I've always tried to do, particularly in my government roles, because the government is really very good about sponsoring training. You know, I had budgets for training and stuff, and I could use it. So I actually required all of my technology professionals, they had to take 2 sets of courses, or 2 courses at a minimum, and they grumbled like hell. They didn't understand, why are you forcing us to do this? Blah, 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 blah. One was customer service training.
Oh, interesting.
And the second was communications training. And I'm not talking business memo writing. I'm talking speaking to other human beings. But focused on, and we worked with a couple area academic institutions, universities, to actually take some of their communications courses and tailor them to technology professionals, you see? So that was one way that I felt I could help, I could make a difference, right? And it wasn't that painful. And
You're
actually
talking about
helping my staff, my technology staff, actually begin to get some formal skills development in communication, all right? And the way it played out was not necessarily public speaking training, that's not what I'm talking about. But this was the ability to actually put together, to take a disciplined approach to explaining to people that are their internal customers, meaning people inside the same organization to whom they deliver products or services, to be able to sit down with them and in non-technical terms explain, this is what I'm doing for you. Because they were terrible at it. And I would get an earful from customers, executive leadership, who would call me and say, Steve, your folks are pissing my people off. And I'd go, what? What are you talking about? Well, they're over here telling them they have to do this and telling them they have to do that. That's customer service, you see. And they can't do this and they can't do that. And my folks don't understand what they're telling them. So you got two, see, the customer service side is because you're, as a technology professional, you're a support organization. You're not the frontline delivery of whatever the mission is of the organization. You have to enable other colleagues to actually deliver whatever that mission capability is. But you got to work with them. You can't call them names and you can't beat them up, figuratively speaking. I mean, none of my people ever beat anybody up. A couple of them did call them names, but they were, they were playground names. They weren't terrible names or profane. They would say, well, why can't you understand this or something? Well, people don't want to hear that. Okay, they don't want to say, look, this is really easy. Why are you having such difficulty understanding it? I'm explaining it to you. Well, no, they weren't. Not in terms that the person who was the non-professional could understand, and that's the communication side. Right? So now if you take that, and instead of, my focus was at the individual level, but the huge opportunity that you've, I think, absolutely properly identified is at the entity level. See, in other words, if there had been somebody like you that I could have turned to and said, here's my problem. My folks don't understand customer service and they don't understand communication. Sid, come in here and take a look around and figure out, tell me, how do I fix this? You see what I'm saying? But I didn't have anybody to turn to.